Knives, machetes, saws, and shears, multi-tools, shovels, swords, axes, spears, hatchets, and tomahawks. If it cuts, snips, slices, or chops, Midway USA has it. Find great gift ideas in our huge selection of pocket knives and other everyday carry folding knives. Make a statement or create a family legacy with one of our top-of-the-line hunting knives. We've got a great selection of manual and electric sharpeners, too. For just about everything for the outdoors, check out MidwayUSA.com.
Charging your boat battery has never been easier. Our 20, 30, and 40 amp Battery Tender Wave Charge Pro multi-bank chargers safely charge and maintain your boat batteries. The 2, 3, and 4 bank chargers are waterproof, vibration resistant, and will never overcharge your battery. Whether you're on the water, on the road, or in the wild, Battery Tender has you covered. With our variety of battery chargers, jump starters, and solar chargers, Battery Tender can charge and maintain any vehicle's battery. Start with trust. Start with Battery Tender.
Yet another week of podcast here on the Outdoor Drive. This is episode 252. Is that 252, Stevie?
Are you sure?
Well,
One after 251 was.
You almost said 250. Well, you told me it was 252.
It is 252. I have my shit together.
I am all out of fingers and toes 291 episodes ago. So, I don't know. We're here. We're doing it. What in the world is going on over there?
Just another day in the office, buddy.
I hear that, man. Oof. I need this heat to go away, dude.
A what?
Sam brought the Texas heat in here.
The heat don't bother me. It's that humidity that sneaks up on you, you know?
What, that you cut through with a knife?
Oh, it's been brutal, bro. Brutal.
It's actually killing down the trail camera action, dude. It's been slow. These things must be bedded up in a swamp somewhere trying to swim around like Nemo.
Yeah, it did slow up there for a couple of days, didn't it?
Yeah. It's still kind of slow. It's frustrating, but whew, I'm dying. I can't even get out.
I had a buck on a scrape the other day, so you know what that means. The rut's on.
The rut is on, my friends. I can't even. Dude, I got out of work, come out of the AC, and I walked outside. I had this big ambition to go put out some more Moultrie cameras, and literally I walked outside and I said, there is no way. There's no way. I am not going for a walk in the woods right now, dude. I'm about to die. It's that bad.
Yeah.
And the rattlesnakes.
The elusive ones?
So the other day I'm sitting on the couch and I holler off and I say, hey, do you think I should get some rattlesnake traps?
Oh my God. For the one rattlesnake in the state of Connecticut. Dude, did I ever tell you this? I've been rattlesnake hunting before.
Where was this?
I got a rattle around here somewhere. I should get it out. When I was on the cattle drive.
Oh.
Ago, and I don't know, it's like day 2 of the cattle drive, and we get into camp. We had like 300 head of cows, and there's this big butte, and it's called Rattlesnake Butte. And I don't know, I was like 18. I'm like, is there really rattlesnakes up there? And they're like, yeah, that's why it's called Rattlesnake Butte. So I paid this kid, he's like 10 years old, and I was like, dude, I'll give you $20 if you take me rattlesnake hunting. So we all trudged up this butte and found some rattlesnakes and killed them. I hope this is legal. I don't know if it was illegal or not, but it was long enough ago. I don't think I'll get in trouble for it.
It was after 7 years, so it's unprovable.
But anyways, we went up there and we slayed some rattlesnakes, and I brought the rattle home.
Did you eat them?
Yeah, we ate them. Yep.
Was it good?
Yeah. It's all right. It tastes like chicken.
What was the recipe on it? Like how'd you cook them up?
Fire.
Oh, okay. No seasoning. Well, you weren't actually supposed to have them.
So cowboy shit, you know?
Yeah.
We're in the middle of nowhere, and you know,
my little brother. I was talking to him on the phone the other day, and he says, "Yo," because we were talking about rattlesnakes. It's just been in the back of my mind. Like, you see all these posts on Facebook about rattlesnakes in the local area, this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, man, and my brother says, "There's rattlesnakes?" He goes, "Bro, you better kill one of them things so we can eat it." And I'm like, "Kill?" I'm like, "No." And I was like, "What happens if I get bit?" He goes, "You're gonna die." And I was like, "Yeah, that's what happens."
I would imagine it's got to be illegal in Connecticut. They've got to be protected.
Oh, they're definitely protected in Connecticut. 100%.
They are protected in Wyoming. That story was allegedly.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, on to the next thing. Allegedly, we've killed.
I didn't actually kill it. I observed
Somebody killing it. Yeah. So we've killed a. Never mind. We probably shouldn't go over the list and bring up the bad things that we got going on here in the past couple of weeks. But
anyways, dude, I had a good weekend last weekend with Seth.
yeah, you guys went crabbing and fishing and whatever else you guys did.
Little spot and stalking on some deer with the bow. I mean, it was a good time, man. All around good weekend. I went up there Friday night after work and didn't get home till like 10:30 Sunday night. Like pretty much came home, took a shower, went to bed, and went right back to work. So it was a full out Rhode Island weekend for me, man. It was a good time.
Those are the best. Those are the absolute best, dude.
I came back like I'm like quarter Portuguese now.
Yeah.
Just fully embrace the Portuguese lifestyle.
Well, hey, you know what? The problem is that you have the brains of an American, but the hangout of the Portuguese. So as long as you have the brains of the Portuguese, using ugly sticks and stuff like that, I think you'll be fine.
I was crushing it with the ugly stick. I caught some trophy porgies, bro.
Okay, this is the deal, right? The ugly stick thing. I'm gonna put this thing to rest. Okay, so you using an ugly stick is like going back in time and finding the crappiest bow. That's like going back to wheel cam bows. Yes.
No.
Yes. He said no.
It's like shooting. It's like an Easton arrow.
Yeah. Stop.
It's like they're everywhere, dime a dozen, and they work.
No, that is not the truth.
Go get another one when you need another one. It's
like,
yeah, it's the same thing.
No, it's not even close to the same thing. It's like shooting Walmart brand arrows. Okay,
that's like the argument of like, I bet you there's been more fish caught with an ugly stick than any other rod out there, like the old 30-30 or corlock. But more deer been killed with a corlock than any other round, just like an ugly stick.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess whatever.
When I rip on that ugly stick, bro, fish are hitting the deck, bro.
Yeah, well, the sensitivity. There's a lot of things that you're losing by using an ugly stick. Just so you know.
The only thing the fish are losing of their life, so that's all that matters.
God. All right, I need to get on with the show. I can't. That's the end. That's the end of the beginning. I'm over it. All right, we are title sponsored by Bowtech for a reason.
Shakespeare ugly stick. Use promo code Madman.
We are title sponsored, and the official bow of the Outdoor Drive podcast is Bowtech. Refuse to follow. Also, Huntworth, huntworthgear.com. If you guys haven't gotten Huntworth, get more for less with Huntworth. Some of the best hunting brand camo on the market. We use the crap out of it. It's the greatest. So go and buy some. I don't know what else to say. I'm kind of lost. I'm trying to
Last week, when I was at Seth's this weekend, we were getting ready to go out. I'm getting dressed, and Seth has 3 dogs, right? So all of a sudden, his dogs are like swarming me, and I'm like, "What the hell? Like, why are your dogs like your dogs are all? They will not leave me alone. Like, these are my hunting clothes. Like, I couldn't figure it out for a second. I'm like swatting them away. Like, I'm trying to get ready, and I was like, oh, they smell that skunk smell still, because they were the Durham pants I got sprayed with the skunk in. So I can't really smell it that much anymore, but them dogs certainly
They
could.
definitely smell it. Well, you need to go over to Huntworth Gear and get yourself a new set of Durham pants for the early season. Fourth Arrow, fourtharrowcameraarms.com. If you guys are starting to self-film, thinking about self-filming, wanting to film, or just want to look at the stuff, head on over to fourtharrowcameraarms.com. Latitude Outdoors. Guys, there's some good stuff coming. No release dates yet, but some really cool stuff. Get on over to latitudeoutdoors.com. They have all of your saddle hunting needs over there. The Method 2, they have now just teamed with TX5. So there should be some really cool things coming on over there. So make sure to go follow on social media so you can follow along with it. Nor'easter Game Calls, nor'eastergamecalls.com. Deer season's right around the corner. Get your custom grunt tube and give it a blow.
Give it a blow. We going to see Marky soon or what?
Hunt stock, August.
Be there?
7th, 8th, and 9th. We will see you guys there. Westminster, Mass. And the Wildwood Phone. What's that?
I think it's 8th, 9th, and 10th.
8th, 9th, 10th. That's what I meant. That's what I said.
Actually, it's the 9th, 10th, 11th.
9th, 10th, 11th. It's somewhere in August. Go to huntstock.com. So this was the worst sponsorship ads commercial that we've ever done. So we should probably.
Pretty smooth. About normal.
All right, we're going to let this go. Let's get on Sam from Fall Obsession podcast. Outdoor Drive Podcast.
Those are magpies.
What are they? Magpies?
It sounds good.
What is it? Dude, did you just make something up?
Oh, it's a
Oh,
real thing.
is it?
Yeah,
It's always something with you,
I think
dude.
they're in Texas.
Do you have magpies
I'll go
in
with it.
Texas?
They follow the cows around.
I know bird watcher, but I'll go with it.
All right, guys. Well, we're fully live here on the Outdoor Drive Podcast. We have Sam Thrash from Fall Obsession Podcast. Man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. How are y'all?
Good. Is it hot as it comes down there right now? Like, I can't believe that you are sitting outside in Texas in the dead of summer. Like, you have to be some type of alien.
Well, man, it's either you sit out here where it's reasonably warm, in the evening on the back porch that faces east, or I get to be inside and you get to listen to my kids in the background. So I had to weigh my options a little bit. You know how podcasting goes. So
It's either magpies or children. What do you want to listen to, right?
yeah, what do you want to hear in the background?
That's right.
What's it worth to you?
Don't podcast in the AC. Do it outside.
Be a man.
I know. Yeah, Real Man podcast outside in Texas. That's how it goes.
I can't. You can't even do that to that, right? All right, let's dig this thing right into four-wheel drive. Sam, why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do?
Absolutely. Well, my name is Sam. I am from Texas. I think we already hit that a little bit. But I work for a company called Fall Obsession. We do hunting and outdoor media. We are a media production company. We produce a wide variety of content in the outdoor space, film productions, hunting shows, the podcast, as you guys have mentioned. We also got some stuff on our website in the form of gear reviews, educational articles, and that kind of thing. But we got over 30 content creators on our team in different capacities across the country that contribute to the platform, or some of them do as much as film their own shows that we produce. So we are in everything hunting and outdoor media, man, and we're grinding away at it. Got a bunch of awesome stuff coming down the pipe for 24 still, and yeah, keeps us busy for sure.
So I guess my question, and I already know the answer, but I figured I'll ask so that the listeners can hear this, is where did this all start for you, man? Because, us as ourselves, we're kind of in the same circle, I guess you can say. You're on the Outdoor Call Radio. We have some of the same friends, very small source circle. And, how did it start for you? At what point did you, say, oh, I want to do a podcast. I want to be content creator. I want to have this. I want to have that. It's a tough cookie to swallow.
It is, and especially with all the different avenues and the different things we have going on, it is not it didn't come easy, I guess I should say. And the origins of this thing go all the way back to 12 years ago. And I was a kid just playing around with a blog at the time, basically, and just writing random stuff. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I just wanted to share something in the hunting and outdoor world. And that led to bringing more people a couple years later on board to help share their experiences and everything as well. Because I hunt Texas, and at the time I had only hunted Texas. I wanted the platform to have an all-inclusive approach to everywhere in North America, and I can't do that. So other people started contributing from other places, and we were still trying to find our identity. We were still trying to figure out exactly what this thing was, because we were creating content, but we didn't really have a purpose behind it. And I'm sorry if you guys can hear any of the little bit of breeze blowing through the porch.
We're
here,
podcasting, buddy. It's good.
We were just trying to figure it out, and the podcast started in 2020, I believe. So we're in our fourth year now working on this thing, and I actually didn't want to start it. And that was the funny thing. Our marketing director now, he's been on our team for a long time, and he was kind of poking me a little bit, like, hey, podcasts in the hunting world are kind of going somewhere right now. We should start one. I'm like, man, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to talk about? Or that's a lot of work. I always had an excuse, right? And I was a little late to the party, and finally I did it. Finally, we hit record for the first time and kicked off the show, and it has since turned into what I would consider a flagship series here at Fall Obsession. That's what draws in the most listeners and the most followers to our platforms and everything. And we've expanded off of that, and we've gotten plugged in with the Carbon TV network and everything now as well, which has led to us, ramping up some productions on some other hunting shows that we're producing. And we've gotten recently into what I would call the film side of everything, where we're producing standalone films and everything right now. I've got a couple of those in the hopper. So a few years ago we decided this is going to be a hunting and outdoor media production company, and we're going to run with it. And we've been flying by the seat of our pants ever since. So
it's one of those things, because it's kind of crazy, right? Like, people don't understand the grind, right? Because you obviously have a normal day job, right? Like, this isn't full time for you.
So no, it is certainly not. I have yet to see a dime of profit for myself personally from the company, and that's a decision that our company has made, as far as what we're going to use the money that we make for. But no, I'm not full time. The company, being a part of it, obviously has perks as far as, some of the opportunity you get to be part of, from it and everything. But full time, I'm a firefighter. Actually, that's my full time job, and that's what pays the bills at the end of the day. That does allow me to have a pretty unique schedule. So I still don't work a normal Monday through Friday or anything like that. I'll go days at a time at the station, but then I'll have days at a time that I can focus on other things, whether that's stuff around the house or working on fall obsession, going hunting, whatever it might be. So it allows some flexibility in that regard, and I'm grateful for that for sure.
So it's kind of crazy. So, like, everybody kind of like has this like perception of, okay, you have a podcast, you're content creating, you have a YouTube, you have a TV show, you should be making millions of dollars, right? Like, that's like this big persona when it comes to, oh, you have 20,000 followers on TikTok, and you have this and you have that, and oh, you should be making a ton of money. But I think a lot of people don't realize in the outdoor space, there's really, I hate to call it the industry. I'm not a big fan of this whole industry thing.
I don't like that word either, man. I don't like that word either. I don't know what else to call it, but
I call it the space, right? The outdoor space. Yeah. I think it's like the only thing to do it, because like the thing is, like, 90% of the people that are like us, a bunch of nobodies trying to do something that we just try to pass on what we have and what we do, is they think that we do this full time. But it's not the truth. The big thing about it is that we just enjoy it, and we all have 9-to-5 jobs. And then we do this grind on the outside. Like we were talking before the podcast, like, a lot of this stuff is just grit and grind, like, stuck together as it goes, because some of it is tough to do. Like, to do a podcast like this, you're outside, the kids are inside, you're trying to record a podcast. Like, that's not easy, dude. Like, you put up a lot of time. I'm missing a nice striped bass dinner right now. Like, it's just how it goes.
Oh, dang.
Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. And people think that there's a lot of money in it.
No, it's a grind, man, and you guys know that. But and I know we were talking briefly, just before we hit record and everything about it. But you gotta. There's so much pressure, it feels like, right? Because you want to stay consistent. You want to put out an episode every week. That's the commitment that you've made by having the show and everything. And we're the same way. We publish weekly, and you got to ensure that you record an episode every week or multiple episodes a week to stack them up. If you're going to be out of town one week or on vacation with the family, whatever it might be, you got to plan ahead in that regard, so that every week, the same day, that stuff's rolling out and your listeners are happy. And you told me before, it's like, man, they don't know the difference, right? It publishes and they listen and they enjoy it all the same. But at the end of the day, we're back here, hanging on by a thread and, drinking energy drinks and late nights and trying to make it happen, so.
Did I just hear a horse in the background?
You did.
Fucking Texas.
It's Texas, man. I got to lean into it at this point, guys. I do, so.
That was a horse.
Yeah, there you go again. So.
You know what it is? He's getting pissed off at those magpies.
Yeah, he's getting hungry is what it is.
Yeah. What do you have a little farm and
I
stuff?
didn't mean to cut you off, but I mean, I hear a horse. I gotta say something.
No, you're good. No, so we live on a couple 2.5 acres out here. The horse is actually by my neighbors that's over here that we're good friends with, but we got cows, and my wife's got 1,000 chickens, and all sorts of other little critters running around here. So yeah, your listeners get a unique experience by listening to me outside of my studio here, recording with horses and birds and chickens and stuff in the background. So
it fits us well with the outdoor drive, honestly, because we always say we put down the tailgate, sit down with our buddies and chat. So I mean, it's nothing. It's just the full experience that we're getting here. That's all it is, man.
Yeah.
It's just a full experience.
If y'all were here right now, we would probably be sitting on this back porch with a beverage, hanging out anyway. So yeah,
it's the same exact thing, man. And it's going back on it. I mean, like, it's not that we're complaining about the grind, not by any means. We do it for the listeners, and we do it because we want to do it and share that experience. I mean, like, it's because we want to, like, I mean, I say it all the time. Steve says it. I mean, there could be 2 listeners or 2 watchers. It doesn't matter. Like, we do it because we love it, right? Like, it's not, it's a love for it. It's not for the rich and the famous. Like, we just enjoy it. And it's a lot. And there's a lot of, I bet you, like, what do you think is like that like come to moment where you're like, oh, this is just the greatest thing in the world, where you just keeps you pushing and grinding on?
Man, it's some of the people that I record with, for sure. And just talking about the podcast specifically, because we're at Fall Obsession, we're coming up on our 200th episode at this point, and I look back at all the people that I've gotten to meet through this show that I wouldn't have gotten to otherwise, right? They're the relationships with people that are either in, completely opposite sides of the country from me, or even a dude that lives 40 minutes from me that has his own show that I didn't even know about until, we connected through this platform and everything. So it's those connections that you're able to build. And when you hit record and start talking to somebody, start getting to know somebody, that's where it's rewarding for me. That's what I get out of it, building relationships and everything through the podcast, through the platform, through the hunting and outdoor space. That's what it's about. And outside of the podcast, I just look at the opportunities, right? There's been so many great opportunities that I've been grateful to be a part of because of, being a part of an organization like this. I got to go to Colorado on a mule deer hunt last year that I would have never have gotten to if it wasn't for this brand, and it's this stuff like that makes it rewarding in the end, and makes it worth it at the end of the day. It's a pain sometimes to, put together a schedule where you're putting out an episode every week, but man, I forget about all that as soon as I hit record and start talking to somebody, getting to know them. And then, it's like most people, for me, it just seems like I'm friends and we're connected like that. Like, I've met some people that, were just me trying to get a guest on a show, and I text them all the time now, and that's.
If you hunt enough, you learn the truth. What you seek speaks a language and knows it well. That's why every Primo's call for everything you hunt is made the right way. We sweat every detail so you get more out of every hunt, and nothing leaves our hand until we know it'll work in yours. Because we don't just make the world's best calls, we speak the language. Primos.
The only shooting stick with one-handed trigger pull adjustments has a new way to keep you at the top of your game. The Trigger Stick Apex. Built for sturdy support that adapts to unforgiving terrain with easy adjustments to make your big shots. With our DuraSteady 3-piece carbon leg design and interchangeable rock-solid clamp, nothing tops the Apex. The Trigger Stick Apex, only from Primos.
That's cool, man. That's what hunting in the outdoors is all about.
And it's funny is like, you hit it on the head, honestly, because like we as outdoor podcast, in that space, like we get to meet people from all over the country that we would never meet before. Like when we were younger, we would just go to the local hunting club and we would shake hands with some of the older fellas, but we didn't realize the people out there and the friends. I mean, some of my best friends are from across the country that I talk to every day. Like back in the day, there was forums. That's how my outdoor life had started, just like yours. Yours was a blog, and like you start to meet people and it starts to just tumbleweed down where you just meet more and more people across the whole entire country. Like you go to some of these outdoor events and you catch up with people. One of my greatest friends in the world is from North Dakota. Somehow I ended up with a dog from him. Like, I don't even know what happened, but like it's just great. If it wasn't for a platform like this and social media, there is some really great things that come from it, and I would never stop it because of that. Like you, like from Texas, man. Like, I would have never talked to someone from Texas. Like, I would never even. What if it wasn't for this? You know, like it just.
Yeah. No, I 100% with you, man, and I can't emphasize that enough. We have too here. What's really cool, just in house with our own team. I talked about the number of people that we have on the team in different capacities, and this is a group of individuals that we've built over years, and that have grown, and we've added to the team and everything. And it's just outside of them creating content and everything, we have a staff manager over here at Full Obsession. He lives up in Michigan, and we try to. He works really hard to try and get groups of people across the country within our own organization together, and to hunt, to hang out, to fish, just camp, whatever it might be. So again, these are relationships with folks that if it weren't for this platform, we would never all get to know. The 2 guys I went to Colorado with last year were from our team, and one of them lives in Colorado, the other's from Michigan. Our staff manager up in Michigan a couple summers ago, he came down here just because he wanted to shake my hand in person, because we had only met online and virtually like this. And I was like, well, it's 112 degrees outside, but if you want to go hog hunting, let's go. And so we went hog hunting for 2 days in a Texas July summer, and he shot one, and because for him, it was like, man, I'm from Michigan. I've never hunted pigs before. Like, this is a bucket list hunt for me. And I'm down here in Texas, like they're around every corner. And I'm like, this is a bucket list hunt for somebody. That's my first reaction. It's like, I can kill a pig any day of the week. But that kind of also brought it in perspective for me. Like, man, I have the opportunity to check one off the bucket list for this guy. Mm-hmm. Let's go, let's go knock it out. And, one man's trash is another man's treasure. That's exactly what it is. I've shot pigs, and, just because they're a nuisance down here and they're gross. Some of the big ones, you shoot a pig and sometimes you don't do anything with it. But to this guy, it's a bucket list hunt, So
well, it's probably in the same where like you got to go to, to the out west and go mule deer hunting, bro. Yeah. Like that's something that you probably would have never done before. I mean, what do you think? How was that, like, being a Texan and going and doing something like that? That's a totally different ball game.
Man, it is for sure. So I'm not an experienced Western hunter. I have a newfound passion for Western hunting. I'm a Texas boy, born and raised. So in 2018, I went on my first out-of-state hunt, which was a pronghorn antelope hunt in Montana. Amazing experience. I ended up shooting a Pope and Young pronghorn with my bow on day 3 of that hunt, and did not realize until the second year when I went back how blessed I was to have that happen. So those are the only 2 out-of-state experiences that I had before this Colorado trip. So going in this Colorado trip, man, I was honestly like, I have a mule deer archery tag in my pocket for far northeastern, practically Nebraska, Colorado. And it's like, I'm shooting the first thing that I get a shot at, because it's flat. It's farmland. It's flat. And me going up there, man, it was a whole nother world. I went into it with an open mind, ready to learn. I was going with 2 guys. One of them lives up there, so he hunts it every year. He's very familiar with it, well-versed in it. The other guy had hunted that type of area before. So these guys know more than me. I'm going into it just ready to learn and ready to take advantage of any opportunity that God gave me. I wasn't going to wait to fling an arrow.
That's got to be so cool, though. Like, just like being in a whole different. It's got to be like being in a whole different world to you.
It was, and I mean, this is an old farming community. It's like I said, it's flat. Like they told me, hey, it's going to be flat when you get here. I'm like, okay. There's flat places in Texas, obviously. I get out there, man. It's flat. It is really flat. But I'm looking around, and it started off. I drove in a snowstorm to start, so that completely jacked up all of the deer activity that had been happening up to that point. So the first 2 days were real slow as far as the deer that we were seeing. And I'm just thinking in the back of my mind, like, man, I haven't even seen a good buck yet. I tried a little stalk on a forky just to say that I've tried a stalk on a mule deer. You know, I was like, man, I'll take anything I can get at this point. And I mean, I can tell the story if y'all
Yeah,
want me
please,
to,
please
but
take it through it.
yeah. So it was day 3, midday. We were making one more lap around the home farm before we actually packed it up, and we were going to go get a sandwich and then come back out, you know, because the farmhouse is right there. So we were making one more lap around the home farm before we went and got a sandwich, and we're driving across past the CRP field, and we look out, and they're like, "Oh, there's a good buck out there," and he just stood up out of the CRP. So we keep driving. We don't want to spook him. He's a couple hundred yards off the road. We're looking what we can with the binos, and he looks like a decent buck, at least the best one that we had seen up till now. I mean, it's flatland free range mule deer is what it is. So we end up parking a good ways away from him, kind of up a hill at an intersection where we could look down into the CRP. You know, kind of the sun was helping us out as far as being able to pick him out, and found where he was bedded, and he was in the worst possible spot you could imagine him being. The wind was blowing. We were at the north watching him. The wind was blowing out of the south, and he was facing south. So he's facing downwind. So, or excuse me, he's looking upwind, I guess. Sorry, but so tactically, it's like, man, we're gonna have to come in from that way, and he's looking that way. What are we gonna do about that? So we come up with a plan to drop me off, and I'm gonna have to try to make him move from that way. And so they loop around, drop me off at the corner of some evergreens. There's a wheat field that backs up to the CRP field, so I hoof it through that wheat field quite a ways. When I get to the CRP field, I finally start crawling, and I'm as much as uphill you can be. You know, it's a slope is all it is out there, but I'm uphill from him. I can't see him. He bedded back down. So the guys went back to the far corner, and they're in the pickup truck, and I can see the little black speck on the hill that the pickup truck is. And they tell me, they're like, hey, we had a little bit of cell service when I was in the wheat field. They're like, hey, we're going to line him up before you potentially lose cell service. We're going to line him up with the truck. Like, so all you got to do is aim yourself into the CRP toward the truck, and you'll run into him eventually. It's like, it's the best plan we got. So they did that. I hit the CRP. Once I got to the CRP, they told me, of course, at that distance, it's hard for them to gauge anything, right? It's hard for them to gauge how far away I am from this deer. So they're like, we don't know how far you are. You could be 200 yards. You could be 400 yards from them, whatever. So I got down. I started crawling. And there's still snow on the ground. It's 30 degrees outside, so I'm freezing. I am cold. My hands are soaked. And I'm just inching my way through the CRP and everything. Long story short, we've been at it for a while. And finally, as I'm approaching this little patch of grass, I see his head at the top of the CRP. And this grass is like waist, chest high. It's tall, thick stuff. And I see his head above it, and he's just standing there looking around. He hadn't seen me. He just decided to stand up. And I'm trying to get a range on him. I can't. There's a little low spot that I'm just eyeballing, and it looks like it's roughly the same distance away from me as he is. So I start ranging that spot as my mark, and I have him at like 62 yards. And it's windy. I'm like, man, there's no way I'm making a shot in this wind at this deer. And my preparation going into this hunt, guys, was, you know, I was shooting 70, 80, 90, some shots at 100 yards down here in Texas preparing for this hunt, because I knew that archery hunting flatland, I'm going to have a long shot more than likely at this deer. But with the wind, I was just like 62, I can't do it. So he ends up bedding back down, and so I start creeping in farther. And we get to the point where I'm, again, eyeballing this one spot, and it's like, man, that thing's got to be, we're getting in there. We're getting close. I'm up against this big patch of grass that he's in at this point. So I ranged that spot, and I want to say I ranged it at like it was around 38 yards or something like that. So I'm thinking, well, this is it. So I'm thinking back to all the hunting shows that I'd watched as a kid growing up, and these guys, and you know, crawling in, and then you know, giving the old mark at them and trying to get them to stand, you know, out of the CRP or the cornfield and that kind of stuff. I was like, well, work for them. I guess I'll try that. So I come to full draw, and I stand all the way up, and I cannot see this deer bedded. That's how thick everything was. So I'm looking around at first like, where is he? I have an idea kind of generally where he is, but I can't actually put eyes on him. So I stand up and I just start grunting at him, and nothing happens. No deer stands up, nothing. So I let down. I just go back down thinking, well, I guess I'll get a little closer. So I start crawling in. I'm now like in the patch of grass that he's in, and I'm crawling in on my hands and knees, just set my bow in front, crawl to it, set my bow in front, easing in as quick as I can. The wind, thankfully, as windy as it was hiding my sound. So I had that, that going for me. But finally, I get 10 yards closer. I range that spot again at 28. I'm like, I have to find this deer. I need to know exactly where he is before I do anything else. So once again, I ease my way back up, fully standing. Can't see anything. So I have my binoculars, and I'm looking right in front of me with my binoculars, trying to find anything. And finally, I find his frame in the grass, sun gleaming off of it. So I'm like, all right, there he is. So draw back, same drill, grind at him a couple times. He stands up, and he is hard quartering toward me. And the second he stood up, my pin was already set at 28, and it was sitting right there. And I just immediately let it fly. It couldn't have lined up more perfectly. And hit him. He takes off running. I can see my arrow sticking out, and I see blood pumping out and everything. And I watch him run out about 80, 100 yards. He stands there. I'm like, just go down, man. Just go down. And he crashes, and I just start jumping up and down. That pickup peels off, out there on the road. They've been watching the whole thing in the binos in the glass. And man, we were celebrating. It was an unbelievable experience. And it was, I don't know, it sounds cliche, but it was like a movie, right? Like, I've watched these hunting shows my whole life, and I've watched these guys hunt these big mule deer out west and all this kind of stuff. And I've never experienced that, but from start to finish was almost 2 hours. I had covered, between walking and crawling, a mile on foot to get in on this deer, and to have it all pay off at the end. I was like, man, he's not a monster mule deer by any means, but he might as well be a 200-inch to me. I'm getting him shoulder mounted and everything. It's like I can't not with that experience, So
I mean, and you wanted to stop for lunch.
Yeah, exactly. We were going back in for sand, and that's what's funny is, so Tim Burgess. He's our one of our regional coordinators, and it was his family invite. He was the Colorado guy out there with me, and he had told me, he's like, man, I see a lot of deer out here, around lunchtime, and he's like, normally I try to do one more lap before I always head in, just even when I want to head in, if I want to go grab a bite real quick and head back out, he's like, I always do one more lap. And he was trying to talk me and Mike, the other guy, into that, because we hadn't seen anything that morning. It was dead. And so Mike and I are both like, man, we've been riding around all morning. We're hungry. Like, we want a sandwich. And Tim was like, no, trust me, we're going to do one more lap. And I'm grateful for Tim for one more lap. We didn't make it to lunch.
And that's literally, he was on Instagram, and that's what he said. You wanted to stop for lunch. That's where I got it from, actually.
Yeah. Oh, is he listening to the podcast?
Yeah, he's on Instagram following along.
That's awesome. Yeah, I got him to thank for that. He always does his traditional, let's give it one more look, and it paid off. So.
It's like being a fisherman in that one last cast.
Yeah,
cast.
one more. Let me get one more,
One more. And sometimes it pays off, though. I mean, like in this case, it definitely did. My question is, had you seen snow before, or like been in snow by this point?
Yes.
Okay.
I know I'm from Texas, but I have experienced snow. We get these little ice storms down here is what we get, and there's snow with them, but it all just freezes over, and it's slick, and it sucks for a week. But yes, what's ironic is I've had now 3 out-of-state hunts in my life, 2 in Montana, 1 in Colorado, and every single one of them, the first day I've been hunting in the snow, on every single one of them. Different location, different place every time, and I roughly the same time of year in Montana. But it's like, man, if I leave Texas, apparently, if I'm going hunting, everybody else better bring their snow gear, because there's going to be some snow at some point when we start our trip. So
that's nuts. I mean, especially being from Texas, like you're not supposed to bring that with you. It meets you there.
No, it's a coincidence for sure, but it definitely made the hunting a lot more challenging. Like even Tim talked about that. He knows those deer out there, the muleys and the whitetails out there better than anybody. And even he was saying, he's like, man, I've never, like, this weather's jacking with them. I've never seen it like this. It put a setback on our trip for sure. We lost. If we hadn't had snow, we probably would have had started off with 2 great days of hunting. But we had 2 sucky days of hunting to start our trip just because of the weather. So
I think that it's sometimes when you do a travel hunt like that, it's almost better to have a crappy couple of days of the first day, because it makes it mean that much more when it all comes together, because you're in the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows, and then when it all comes together, it's just that it's like surreal when it actually happens.
Yeah. And man, we were talking about the podcast and finding value in that and what we get out of it and everything like that. But for me too, just another thing that, being a part of an organization like this has done is that night I killed that mule deer at like 12:15 in the afternoon. That night, the 3 of us sat in camp and we recorded a podcast about it. So for the rest of my life, I can now go back and listen to Sam Thrash's excitement the day that he killed that mule deer.
Mm-hmm.
And we produced a film over the entirety of the trip. So for my whole life, I can go back and I can actually watch that film again, that as long as I live, and relive that experience. And that's something that, I know self-filming is getting more and more popular. More and more guys are trying to do it. And man, I encourage that. Yeah, the guys should, because that's even if it's just for yourself, that's the value in it, right? You can go back and relive some of these experiences, whether it's a big deer for you, an out-of-state hunt, your kid's first deer, whatever it might be. You can go back and relive it. So.
I think that's the best part about the whole entire thing. I think that's kind of like the needle in the arm for us, is that exact scenario that you're talking about, like being part of something and somebody filming, or you self-filming, or even the podcast, just to tell that story someday. Like, it's funny, as we talk about this a lot, and I'll bring this up because it's probably something that's done a lot more in Texas than it is here, honestly, but it's something that I miss the most. Like the big stories, or sitting around the campfire, you meet an older gentleman and they go above their visor and they grab a Polaroid picture or a Kodak picture and they show you it. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's their memory. I don't know how many people that I've met, that old timers talking hunting stories here, they'll pull out an actual photo album of their hunts, or I had a gentleman I met, big time fisherman, and the next time he saw me, he had his photo album and showed me the photo album. Well, that's like their memory that we have, that we're building today and don't even know it, is that self-filming, and we're going to be able to share that forever. The podcast, we can go back and listen to these things forever, show our grandchildren, show the younger generation, this is what we've done. It's honestly, we're building our own memories in our own time that are there's hard copies of them.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. And that's something like, I self-film a majority of the time down here in Texas, and we produce a show actually on our hunting land down here and everything. So I'm always have a camera going and that kind of thing. And there are times where I'm like, man, I don't want to film this hunt. Like, it's so much work, or I'm tired of bringing a camera with me, or doing all this extra stuff. I just want to hunt. I just want to go out there and hunt, But like last year, I got to take my son for his first hunt, and I filmed that whole thing. And it's just that stuff, man. Like you just said, you can't, nothing compares, and you're going to have that forever. So
there's a big difference between self-filming and filming somebody else.
100% agree with that. I would much rather film somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
Like, make me full-time cameraman.
Yeah,
dude.
it's a lot of fun. I just did it last weekend for one of our team members, right? And I'm in the saddle, and the only thing I have to worry about is the camera and the camera arm right in front of me. There's no bow, there's no backpack, there's no gear. It's just me and the camera right in front of me, and I have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
You start adding the bow and drawing and getting it in frame and shooting and can't. Oh my God, it's
Yeah.
it's a different world.
I killed that mule deer on day 3 of our hunt, and there ended up being 7 days of hunting because Mike, the other guy in camp, he had an archery tag, and Tim had a rifle tag, and rifle season opened up toward the end of our trip. So there was, after I killed my deer, there was plenty of hunting left to be had, and it felt kind of good to be the first one tagged out. Not just from the point of I got my tag filled, obviously, but at that point I was like, all right, I'm full on production mode now. I'm grabbing that camera and I'm in charge of filming. I don't have to worry about saying anything or talking or anything like that. You guys do your thing and I'll get it all. So, and the other cool thing too, like, I mean, you know, I talk about all these people in our organization, but at the end of the day, we're a small organization. And I bring that up just to say, you know, I do a lot of editing myself for our shows and stuff. And for me, I love filming for a project that I know I'm going to edit, because I've already got it built in my mind as I'm out there, as far as, oh, this is what I'm going to do with this shot. This is what I'm going to do with this. And so I'm already editing from the field, if you will. And it just, the final product that the viewers see is just it all finally coming together. So I love that aspect of it too, because I'm just, my creative brain is just going. So.
I think honestly, I would have to agree to disagree, right? Like, my favorite thing to do is self-film. I love it. I love the challenge of it, I think. Like, where, I don't know, because at first, when I first had started filming, I had those oopsies, right? Where, like, you didn't shoot a deer because of the camera, and I'm like, all right, screw this, and I put it to the side, shot it, but it wasn't on camera. But then in my mind, mentally, I'm like, no, I have to film it. I have to do it. Then you do it, and it becomes repetition, and you just have like a system to it where, you know what I'm saying? And like, it's a huge achievement when you self-film a deer. Like, it's not easy. It's a hard thing to do, and I do like filming other people or being filmed, but like, there is a different achievement when you self-film on your own, and it's tough because there's a lot of times, like, you know, getting B-roll, and you have to walk into the woods, and you have to film this or you have to film that, but when it all comes together, like, there is a sense of achievement when it does come together. I'd have to say there is a point of it, but it's tough, and it's not everybody can do it because you have to get over certain hurdles of it. But like, I encourage everybody to go and try it, because there is nothing like going back, because not everybody can get a filmer, right? But like, there's nothing like going back and like watching that film. Like, there's nothing like it, dude. Like, I go back and watch my films all the time. It's just amazing, honestly.
Yeah. No, I agree with that too, man. Like, it is super rewarding as far as what you can get out of that, and it's a big accomplishment to be able to pull it off. I struggle myself with the decision sometimes, and thankfully it's not all the time. It's rare. You know, there's that struggle on man. It comes down to shoot or film. Like, what am I going to do? If I film, I might not get to shoot. And at the end of the day, you know, my roots are coming out. I'm a Texas boy that just wants some venison, you know, and so I'm fighting that battle in my mind. And I recorded a podcast a few weeks ago with Melissa Bachman, who is completely the opposite. She's like, no, shot comes first. If you can't get a shot, you don't kill the animal. You know, that's her mentality, regardless of who's filming. And it's just, you know, but it's just whatever you need to do for your show and for your production, and where your priorities lie, you know.
See, so I think that there's a fine line there, though. Like you become a hunter first. You're a hunter first, but you want to get it, but you can't get sucked up into the filming aspect of it, where you have to still enjoy the hunt, because it can totally ruin you. Where it can ruin you as far as like how that's so much more important to get the film. You know what I'm saying? So there is a fine line there, because like, you can get sucked up in the filming aspect and not enjoy the hunting aspect. So there is a loss there. So you have to kind of find that balance, and it's a tough balance. It's a very tough balance, because you kind of, myself included, you kind of get sucked up in getting more content than you do enjoying the hunt, where you should enjoy the hunt first. And sometimes when you put the hunt first, then you enjoy it more. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a scary thing.
It's 100% a balance, right? You gotta figure out where where that is for you, and different people are passionate about different things too. And so, depending on the individual or the show, it might vary a little bit as far as what they find the most value in everything. And I know for us, we have these shows and these productions that we have a commitment to, and that we gotta produce, and we gotta put together. And a lot of, and don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. A lot of the times I do enjoy it, both the filming and the production, the editing side of it, and all of it. But they're just sometimes toward the end of the season, when you've been filming everything, you want to go out there and just sit in your tree. Don't have to worry about it. You get that draw sometimes.
You have to have those hunts though, where you just go out and
Yes.
just go doe hunting and just enjoy it. Just go and enjoy it. It's like probably, taking your boy out fishing for pumpkin seed. Just go out and enjoy the sport and enjoy the company, enjoy your friends, put the cameras aside and just enjoy camp with one another, because you do get sucked up in that atmosphere of, I have to film this, I have to get media, I have to do this and I have to do that. And when you have to still enjoy it. That is the instilled part, but there is times to build the content and enjoy.
Whether you're just looking to stay warm during a hunt or need maximum concealment, the clothing you wear can make or break a hunt. At MidwayUSA.com, we understand hunting clothing has come a long way, with more meticulously crafted camo patterns, advanced scent control technologies, and weatherproof options to withstand the elements. Hunters have to wait until their favorite season, but shouldn't wait on gear, which is why Midway USA offers super fast shipping. When you're ready for your next system, log on to MidwayUSA.com.
Fishing like a local isn't just about catching fish. It's about connecting with the environment and the people who call it home. It's about hearing the stories and traditions that have been passed down for generations and sharing unforgettable moments with the people you meet along the way. Fishing like a local is having an experience that stays with you forever. And with Fishing Booker, you can experience it too, no matter where you are. Discover your next adventure on Fishing Booker.
If you hunt enough, you learn the truth. What you seek speaks a language and knows it well. That's why every Primo's call for everything you hunt is made the right way. We sweat every detail so you get more out of every hunt, and nothing leaves our hand until we know it'll work in yours. Because we don't just make the world's best calls, we speak the language. Primos.
What it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, balance, man. It's all balance.
Do you what was some of like the struggles and trials and tribulations that you've kind of gone through in this whole entire endeavor since 2012?
Where to start, man? I mean, I'm coming from I don't know. It's just we're learning filming, learning editing, and that has been purely trial and error. I've never taken a formal film class or anything like that, or editing class to learn that kind of stuff. Everything that we do for the most part has been self-taught and by trial and error. And I'll go back and watch some of my films or some of my productions from 4, 5, 6 years ago, and it kind of make me cringe sometimes. I'm like, oh, that's just not my standard anymore, right? That's not I've grown, as we all do in that realm. And so that's been a big one, just obviously from the standpoint of us being a media production company. And then I would say some of the other things that come to mind are, from a business side of everything, I'm a blue collar fireman, dude. That's who I am, and I'm over here trying to figure out how to run an actual business, that has to at least make some money so it can stay a business, so those are the other things that are behind the curtain that you have to grow with and you have to learn, and there's various struggles and growing pains that come with that. And then, those are the big ones. And then I would say just developing, your personal character, or developing your personal identity. And, through my show and through being a part of this organization and stuff, I feel like we've been able to, had the privilege of being able to kind of develop that, and understand exactly a little bit more about myself and who Sam Thrash in the hunting and outdoor space is, if that makes sense. So, in a nutshell, those are some of the vital portions of growth, I'd say.
It's kind of crazy that you say that, because you bring up a real strong point in like finding out who you actually are, because you go through, and I bet you can probably contest to this, like you go through these great things, like you're gung-ho, you're like, all right, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and then you kind of fail and you're like, oh, I don't know, and then you kind of build yourself up and you have a little bit more bold to you and you start to step forward. I mean, like the hardest thing is the first time go and talk to somebody. Like say you build something and now you want to get a sponsor. Now you have to kind of put yourself out there because you're trying to boist yourself, and it's tough to shake the hand of somebody. Like, what do you have to offer them? And you have to kind of like, you're just selling yourself. Your brand is yourself, right? Like we all stand behind our own brands and we're the ones that make it up, but now you have to sell it. So like there's a lot that goes into it. It's not easy. And then the first time you get shut down, it's a big kick. It's a big kick in the shins.
No, absolutely. You have to be able to sell yourself, and for some that's a struggle, right? Because at the end of the day, I generalize it with just the phrase blue collar, right? But hard workers that just put their head down and grind, and we don't take a whole lot of credit for anything. We're there to do our thing, basically, and having to pump yourself up and compliment yourself basically by trying to sell your brand and sell what you're doing and that kind of thing. That can be a struggle and adjustment for somebody that's just now learning how to do that or having to do that. And talking about the podcast, the first few episodes we recorded were all with our own guys, our immediate circles and stuff. So, and it was good that way, right? Because we were able to kind of casually kick it off, and we had those natural interactions from the get-go. But I can remember the first time, 10, 12 episodes in, that we had a guest on that I didn't know. It was just one of those things, you extend an invite and they accept it. It's like, oh, now I have the first person coming on the show that I've never met before. And I was super nervous as a show host, just because I'd never done that before. So that's a learning point too, as far as being able to, right out of the gate, from the time that you turn the camera on and start talking to somebody on a virtual recording like this, being able to immediately find that connection and start talking and interacting with one another. That can be hard for some people, but at the end of the day, we're all hunters. And we all have that in common, and that's the thing that brings us together and that we can build on. And for a show host, at least, that's where I obviously find that immediate connection with somebody. So,
and one of the scary things too, going through. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
I was just gonna say, just reminded me of this. Years ago, I was working with this hillbilly from Tennessee. And talking to him, you'd think he was dumber than a box of rocks, but he's actually a pretty smart guy. But he had given me some advice that I'll never forget. I think about it all the time. And what it came down to was, I was working my ass off and wasn't really getting much recognition, and I wanted a raise, but I wasn't getting one, And he says, you're your own best salesman. Like, you got to go talk to the boss and go sit down, and you got to tell, you got to sell yourself to the boss and tell him, like, listen, this is what I'm doing. I deserve a raise. And he's like, no one else is going to do it for you. I'm not going to go tell the boss how good of a job you're doing. Everybody's fighting for their own raise. No one's going to go in there and sell you for you. You got to sell yourself. Yeah. And I took his advice. I went into the boss's office. I shut the door, and I walked out with a raise. That advice has stuck with me. Like, we're talking about podcasts and stuff like that. Like, no one else is going to do it for you. You got to build that confidence. You got to be able to go in there and shut the door and sell yourself. Because you can't expect somebody else to recognize you without, you have to have that confidence.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you can't sit back and just wait for it to come to you.
I think one of the toughest things too, like with the podcast, like, who are we to have this conversation? Who are we to,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, we're just average dudes. We just enjoy the outdoors. We have to kind of, we just do it because we love it. We love it. We want to share it. But the thing is that, and I think a lot of people, and one of the driving forces in my eyes is that I've been doing it since I could walk, right? Had a gun in my hand, learned how to archery shoot at a young age, whatever the case may be. We've been through a lot of trials and tribulations. There's people out there that are way better than me, and I'll hold a hat. I couldn't hold a hat to them. You know what I'm saying? And I'll give them a handshake and whatever, and I'll recognize people who need to be recognized. But there's a lot of people out there that are going through the steps that I went through at 10, 12, 13, 15, 18 years old that are 35, 45 that might want to hear this, and they might want to try to do something, and they can learn from it. So like, we kind of forget, and that's why we kind of do the informational thing to teach somebody whatever we can teach them, or reach out to us. We're just average dudes. I'll talk to anybody. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But it's just an enjoyment part. But I'm going to tell you the truth of the truth. There's a lot of people out there that don't tell you the truth of the truth, and they're not real with you. And they try to sell themselves like, oh, I'm sponsored by this person, I'm sponsored by that person. Well, it's not a gain. There's no gain by doing that. Like what is really a sponsorship? Because you're on pro staff? That's not a sponsorship in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole nother topic. We could be here for days, but
no, man, you hit the nail on the head with that one for sure. Like you can, yeah. There's so much out there, right? For anybody, and today's day and age, online media, social media, even in the hunting industry, they're just like, oh, it's raising expectations. Everybody thinks they're going to go out there and shoot a big buck because just all over Instagram, all they see are big bucks, and so everybody just wants to shoot a big buck and has this standard. That's one example, right? But on the flip side of that, yes, that could be a negative if that is your unrealistic expectation. But you just talked about, the 20 and the 30-year-olds who are just now getting into this in their life. Think of, a generation before, they didn't have online media to look at. You had to find a mentor and find somebody that could help you. But now there's so many shows, videos, social media pages, podcasts that people can plug into if they truly want to learn about being a hunter. And that in and of itself is so valuable now. So yes, social media, online media can be a curse, but it can be a blessing at the same time.
I think about this often. I'm just at that age where I grew up without and then was able to like integrate as it came. So like I grew up without trail cameras, hunted, killed deer without trail cameras. Trail cameras became a thing. Let me check one of these out. You get one, you mess around with it. And now I run, 10, 15 trail cameras. And then you do that with like all the little technology and new tech that comes out. You can kind of just add it to your already existing repertoire, right? Dude, I could not imagine being a brand new hunter right now. Like thermals. I've got a pretty good grasp on thermals, but I hunted a lot before I knew what thermals were. So now when you start telling me about thermals, I'm like, oh, okay, I have experience that I can kind of like tie that to and make it make sense. Right. Dude, if I was a brand new hunter with zero experience and I was like on Facebook pages and stuff trying to learn all this with zero experience, my head would be spinning. Like, you got to get a trail camera and you got to put it in here, and then there's buck bedding on the leeward side. Like, what the fuck is a leeward side? I don't even know what that is. You know what I mean? And then, the wind's going to blow this way, but the thermals are going to do that. Like, what's a thermal? And then what do you, like, dude, like, there's almost too much information.
Yeah.
And, like, it's good, but, like, dude, I couldn't imagine. It's got to be so overwhelming for somebody that doesn't know much.
It definitely could. And man, I would say, yeah, you can dive as deep as you want, right? Mm-hmm. Into any piece of it and just make your head explode because it's so intense. There's so much to absorb as you just said. But for anybody, like, yeah, there's a foundation, right, that needs to be laid, and find the inspirations and the tools and the knowledge to be able to do that. But then just go out there, man. Just go out there and do it. That's what it comes down to is, we've all learned so much and much more than any online thing can teach us just from our own experiences and doing it wrong plenty of times, right? So not telling everybody they're going to go out there and mess up, but there will be mistakes made, right? And you learn from those, and just getting out there, enjoying the outdoors and getting your feet into it and seeing where it takes you, man. That's step one right there.
Right.
Go out there and be a Texan and enjoy eating venison is what you really need to do. You don't need to go out there and worry about thermals. Just go hunting. How many times did you go out there and just hunted? You got in the same stand, didn't matter which way the wind blowed, and you shot a deer. Like, it didn't matter. Just go hunt.
Oh yeah,
just enjoy it.
I've gone hunting with a dude that hunts in the same stand every single day, and he gets in there, and the second he gets in there, he lights his cigarette. And he
Oh.
sits in there and he smokes him a cigarette to start off his hunt and everything. He's sitting there in his blue jeans and his flannel, and the dude has killed some big deer. He has killed some big deer.
For a second, I thought you were talking about my dad, but he doesn't smoke cigarettes. No, but the other problem with being in the age of technology and all this stuff is, the opportunity to get the experience. Like, how many sits a year do you actually get in a tree? Say we're talking about just deer. How many sits does an average guy get per year? Like,
Right.
20 is probably a lot more. 20 is 10, 15 sits a year is probably better than average for most guys, right? So that's your only opportunity to get like real life experience. But the rest of the year, you can listen to 3 podcasts a day, every day of the year, go home, watch YouTube, read magazines. You can absorb all this information all year long, but you're limited in like how much time you get real experience,
Yeah.
And so like there's a huge imbalance there, but it's not a bad thing because if you can't be in a tree, you might as well be doing something else to get better and improve yourself. But nothing replaces that experience, and you can only get it. You only have so much opportunities a year to get in a tree,
Yeah. Man, and that's one thing. Like, even I think about these Western hunts, the
Exactly.
few of them that I've been able to be on, and we're talking weeks at a time that we're going out and hunting all day. If most of the day, if not all day, pretty much. Unless we got to go in and get a sandwich with Tim, So we're out there all the time, and we're learning so much about these animals. Like, and I'm speaking for myself. Like, I've hunted whitetails and pigs my whole life in Texas, but then I've hunted pronghorn now. I've hunted mule deer now, not for weeks or months of my life, but 1 week grinding away at it, and that's all that's on your mind, and you're hyper focused into that animal's behavior, how to hunt that animal. Even if you only have in your life a few weeks of hunting a Western animal like that, for example, man, that experience goes a long way. It really can in helping somebody develop as a hunter, hunting that specific species, and then even coming back down here. It's a different animal, but there's still pieces of that animal's behavior and everything, and pieces of that experience that are applicable to hunting Texas, for example. So.
I was going to ask you that. Did you take your Western hunting and bring it back, go out there and try and stalk some pigs or something behind some cactuses? I was going to ask that, but I let it fly.
I did not necessarily. So we do a veteran hunt every year here at Fall Obsession, and it's down here in Texas. It's a whitetail hunt, and I guess when people would traditionally think of Texas, this would probably be it. It's scrub brush. There's some big fields. There's little treed creek beds and that kind of stuff. But it also is pretty flat terrain. But where we're hunting, there are so many deer. There are so many deer, and we got our veteran on her deer pretty quick. She tagged out, and then there was another guy in camp that had a tag, and I was going to go film for him for the last day and a half since we were still there. And we did try a stalk on a whitetail. We did do that, and that was 10 days after my mule deer hunt. He's looking at me, and then we're good friends outside of hunting, and he's looking at me like, "You're the expert here. You know what to do. I'm just following your lead. I know you're filming, but I'm following your lead." I'm like, "Dude, this isn't gonna work. There's no way this is gonna work." And it didn't. Of course, it didn't. These are skittish Texas whitetails, but we gave it a good old college try.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Sam, this has been absolutely great. But before we let you go, man, I got one last question for you, and we ask everybody this. We want to know what drives you outdoors.
What drives me outdoors, man? It is my place. It is a part of my identity as far as who I am. I am a hunter, and that does not mean that I'm a stone cold killer that just goes out there and blasts away, right? That's not who I am. I find so much value in just being outdoors, in being in a tree stand. That the mental therapy for that, just being able to watch a sunrise and the woods come alive on a cool November morning, man, just it gives me chills thinking about it. And that's the release, that's the decompression that I think every person needs. That's what drives me outdoors. I could have the best hunt in the world. I don't even have to kill an animal, basically. It is just me out there on a cool November morning in my tree stand, man. That alone is the best hunt in the world, and that's what it's all about. And aside from that, it's the people that you're with. It's the people that you do it with, and we've talked a lot in this episode about relationships, right? And it's the people that you get to spend time with in camp. I grew up hunting with my dad when I was a kid, and then kind of when I was a teenager and I started hunting by myself more. My dad and I we stopped. Just, I don't know, we didn't fall apart or fall out or anything, but we didn't hunt together as much, is what it seemed like. And recently we've been managing this property. This is year number 4 managing this same property down here in Texas, him and I and a couple other guys. And so for the now going on 4 years, I've gotten to hunt with my dad again, and that, to me, that in itself is invaluable. It's taken me back to being a kid again, man, and sharing hunting camp with your dad and everything. And we joke that the tables have flipped because, when I was little, obviously he would drop me off at my stand and pick me up. And now I drop him off at his stand and pick him up, and everything, or I cook him breakfast now and whatever it might be. But getting to spend that time outdoors with your dad, with your brothers, with friends, whatever it might be, that's invaluable. And those are memories that you're never going to forget. And folks that have that need to cherish it as long as it lasts. The Colorado hunt, I was tickled to kill a deer, but the 2 guys I was there with, man, they made it. They made the trip. Ultimately, that's what made it worth it. So, ton of reasons and a long answer, but that's what gets me outdoors.
All the right reasons, my friend. Honestly, it's all the things that we preach weekly is exactly that, and how important it actually is that, you don't get sucked up in the everyday content creator, influencer pocket, that you're honestly out there and doing it for the right reasons, whether, you have to enjoy it with your family no matter what. And it's kind of funny, we actually have a similar story, and, we all spend time with our dads. We all spend time with our family. We all spend time with our friends, and we kind of, like we had said earlier, I mean, you got to kind of put the camera aside and enjoy the outdoors, because if you're not enjoying it, it's going to be over in a flash, in a blink of an eye, and you got to enjoy it now. Today is the day. Yeah. It's not tomorrow. When you realize it, it's a lot better when it's actually realized and you're not sucked up in it, because there's a lot of people that do get sucked up in it, and they're missing out on some great things and great friends and great people that they can be and enjoying. But
absolutely.
Sam, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, follow along, kind of check you out, and kind of listen to you if they feel that that's what they want to be doing.
For sure. So Fall Obsession, we are all over social media, all the major platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever it is now. You can find us on there. We have 4 different shows, including our podcast that stream on Carbon TV. That's for anybody that doesn't know what Carbon TV is, it's a free hunting and outdoor streaming service. It's like Netflix, basically. So there's a ton of awesome stuff on there. You'll find our podcast on there. The show that I produce down here in Texas is called Texas Dirt. It's a whitetail management / whitetail hunting show up here, or down here. So check that out. FallObsession.com is the website. And if nothing else, go there, and all the content and everything filters through there. Check us out on YouTube, subscribe. That's where you can find the films and the mule deer hunt that I talked about on this one. If anybody wants to watch that video, it's on our YouTube channel. It's called Flatland Mule Deer. Or Flatland Deer Country, excuse me, Flatland Mule Deer is a podcast that we recorded, but Flatland Deer Country is the film if anybody wants to watch that. And, follow along, man. We post daily on socials, weekly podcasts, videos, and shows all the time, so come along for the ride.
Absolutely. It's been an absolute blessing having you on. We can't thank you enough, and we look forward to watching your endeavors grow and everything that you're doing. And for everybody else, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.